This is the Two Bald Guys Sports Podcast. Bald heads, bold takes. Now, here are your hosts, Adam and Tony.
Welcome back. I'm Adam.
I'm Tony.
Tony, hey, last week we talked college football playoffs. What would happen if we go to the 2014 playoff? And, you know, at the end of the show here, we'll lead up and we'll talk some non-conference games for next year. But first, let's start in the NFL. And what better way to start in the NFL with the first, well, could be the first game of the year. We talked last week about them playing in Australia, maybe the first game of the year. But normally the first game of the year is the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And we've done this game a couple times. We try to pick who their opponent will be in that first game. I know last year we didn't have a lot of good choices, and they settled with the Eagles and the Cowboys. I was a little disappointed with that pick last year. So what did you think of that pick for this past year?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. I know it's a rival. The Eagles-Cowboys are a rivalry game. I get that. But starting the season off right away in the conference – like, that's asking a lot, but it's all about the NFL is a business. We got to keep that in mind. It's about getting people to watch, the games. And every year they think the Cowboys are going to be, the boys are back. We them boys every single year, and it doesn't happen. And of course, the Eagles just coming off a Super Bowl victory. So I think that business-wise, that kind of makes sense. So I'm trying to think now, business-wise, you have your Super Bowl champion Seahawks. Who are they going to play that's really going to draw a crowd right off the bat? Are the Rams a potential, opponent for the first game?
So here we go. So obviously they have the Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers they play at home because those are the divisional games. Yep. Those right there, I think, will knock off the Cardinals. They're not going to play the Cardinals in week one. I don't think they're going to do that. The Rams is a possibility. That's obviously an NFC championship rematch. And then you have the 49ers before that, who the Seahawks beat in the divisional round. So those are possibilities. So the Rams and 49ers, would you agree, wouldn't be a bad game, but it is a divisional game?
Yeah, I don't think the Rams or the 49ers wouldn't be a bad game at all. But like you said, it's a divisional game, and we might see those teams again the way it's looking. Any one of those three teams can make the Super Bowl, let alone the NFC championship game. Yeah, would it be a good game? I don't want to start off the season with a conference game like that. Let's go outside the conference to a good matchup that maybe we don't see. And I might lean to maybe your Chicago Bears. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So I was going to go through these here. So their crossover division is the Cowboys and the Giants. Well, it's the NFC East, but they get the Cowboys and Giants at home. I think we knock off the Giants right away. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the Giants are going to be better, but yes, this year, no go.
Obviously, the Cowboys are obviously going to be a draw. They picked them to play the Eagles. But you know what? Yeah. They picked them this past year, so maybe we don't pick the Cowboys again. So you know what? I'm just going to scratch those two teams off. So the Cowboys, Giants, gone. This is where it gets really, really interesting because I know last year when we were looking at seeing who the Eagles were going to play, it wasn't a lot of picks. Like, it was the Lions, the Cowboys, and I think there might have been one other team. There was like three teams that we're like okay with. We've only knocked off three teams. Here's where it gets interesting because these are the rest of their teams they get to play. Their crossover in the AFC is the AFC West, and their home games are against the Chiefs and the Chargers. Now, if Patrick Mahomes isn't back in time, I'd say that gets crossed off. But if he is, that will be interesting. The Chargers, listen, that's an interesting one. And then your other two games, you got the one team that's the first place team, and that's the Bears. They play the Bears at home, and then they get the Patriots at home. So my question to you, do you do a Super Bowl rematch in the first game with the Patriots?
When you first said that, I was like, yes, let's do it. But then I'm trying to think of NFL. What are they thinking? Are the Patriots going to be good enough to make it back? We talked about how weak their schedule was this past season, and that maybe, helped them get to the Super Bowl. They looked way overmatched in the Super Bowl. We know their schedule is going to be tougher. So, man, right off the bat, that sounds fantastic. Let's go ahead and play them again. Let's run it back real quick. Let's see how good the Patriots are going to be. I do like that. I like the Chiefs matchup, like you said, but if Patrick Mahomes is not playing, then that is 100% out. Nobody's going to watch the backup quarterback for the Chiefs play against the Seahawks. So my answer is yes, I like the Patriots, the Super Bowl rematch, because let's see if the Patriots can come out and maybe redeem themselves a little bit in a game that obviously doesn't mean quite as much, but it would be if I'm on the Patriots, I want to play them again.
Oh, if I'm the Patriots, you're getting your chance to play them again, but I want them on the national stage. I want them
Correct.
right back. Yeah, if I'm the Patriots, I want that game. I want them first game of the year. Let's get our revenge right away.
Correct.
If Patrick Mahomes is healthy, that makes sense for the Chiefs. But if he's not,
Yep.
obviously we're scratching him off. The Chargers are interesting. So really, I think it comes down to, if you don't want the divisional game, it comes down to three teams: the Cowboys, the Bears, or the Patriots. So the Cowboys obviously are the national draw, but the Bears kind of are too, and the Patriots give us that Super Bowl rematch. So I would love to see the Bears play on Thursday night. Let's just get right at it. Let's get that game out of the way.
Yep.
Let's play them right away. Let's see what we can do. Obviously, we got to see what they're going to do in free agency and in the draft. But you know what? I think the Bears could be pretty good next year. And if they want to get over that hump, to make the next step, and are they one of the elite teams in the NFC, prove it right away. Prove it against the Seahawks right away and see what you can do. I would love to see the Bears play that first game. I think it's a definite possibility to play that first game. But is that draw, like we just said, is that draw of having a Super Bowl rematch right away too much for the NFL to pass up?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the problem. The NFL is looking at that game going, man, people are going to jump all over this matchup right away. That's going to be that's going to be the matchup. Obviously, I still say if Mahomes is healthy, man, how about the Chiefs, who have been perennial favorites for the last several years, winners of a couple of Super Bowls, played it multiple times. I think if Mahomes is healthy, that's the route they're going to do. But if they don't know for sure, it's going to be the Super Bowl matchup. I think that both of those matchups are really interesting. I think they'll go with the Chiefs if that Patrick Mahomes is healthy. But man, a Super Bowl rematch right out the gate, I don't even think that's ever happened before.
I can't remember if it has. And the thing is, that's the thing. You have to have a home game against the team that you played. That's the biggest thing, right? And I don't think that's going to happen a lot. Listen, I know you don't specifically know your opponents for the next year, but you know the division and the place they're going to be in, right? So, if you look at future schedules, like if I look at the 2027 schedule for the Seahawks, they already know you're going to play their three division teams at home. They already know they're going to play the Eagles, Commanders at home, the Broncos, Raiders at home. Or no, I'm sorry, that's away opponents. They're going to play the Bears and Lions at home because they have the NFC North that year, and they get the Bears and Lions, and then they have the AFC North, which is the Bengals and the Ravens. But then you have an NFC South opponent. So what the NFC South opponent is going to be is whatever place they come in, that's where they play. So like if we know this, but just explain it to everybody. Since the Seahawks came in first, they get the first place team from the division that they don't have that crossover with. So that's going to be that game. But they don't know who the opponent is yet because it depends on the division. And then they play the NFC East away, and then they have an AFC South opponent. So you know what conf or division they're in, you just don't know what the team is. So yeah, I don't know if there's ever been a team have a Super Bowl rematch where they got them at home the very next year after beating them in the Super Bowl. So it's going to be really interesting, what the NFL wants to do. And it's a definite selling point to say, hey, listen, here you go. These guys just went for the Super Bowl. Now we're doing it right again.
Right. Yeah. In Seattle. Right. So I'm just quick.
Right.
I looked up rematches, Super Bowl rematches, week one matchups. And we go back to 2016, Broncos Panthers. Broncos went to Carolina though, after the Broncos beat Cam Newton that year. And then before that, 1970, the Vikings played the Chiefs the season after the Chiefs had won the Super Bowl. So that's the only other times that the rematches happen. But I think this one's different because Seattle's the home team this time. I think that does make it kind of unique.
So you're saying, by looking that up, there's only happened 2 times where there was a rematch, or are you saying in week one?
Just in week one. Just week
one
rematches.
Okay.
There have been other matchups. The Chiefs and the Eagles played I think in 2023, and the Patriots and Rams in 2019, but those were not week one matchups.
Gotcha.
But week one makes it even more unique because you just played them, in February, and now boom, we turn around the next season playing them again. I love it. I like that actually.
It's they have, like I said, they probably have 3 different ways they can go with this. The Cowboys, America's team playing the Seahawks, the Bears, who that's the up and coming team, surprised a little bit to win the NFC North or the Super Bowl rematch. They come up with this, obviously who they're going to play a little bit early. So I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be ready to start the year, and even then, I don't know if you can guarantee that he'll be ready. So that's
Right.
what you kind of run into. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do, but it's a lot of good matchups that they have there right away that you might not have had, in the past. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And, can it start now?
Right, exactly. And honestly, look at that, just those few teams that the Seahawks have to play, it's kind of a rough schedule. Just right there, the teams that we just talked about, kind of rough.
Yeah. I mean, they get the Rams, 49ers, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers, Bears, Patriots. That's their home schedule.
Wow.
Obviously, they have the Giants and the Cardinals, but I think you and I both said we think the Giants are one of those teams that could be that
That'd
last
be
to first team. That is a rough home schedule.
That is tough.
I mean, their away schedule is obviously. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you won the Super Bowl, so you should have a rough schedule. I mean, not to mention their division's kind of tough, but yeah, they should be playing the tough schedule. So I'm assuming since they have, did you say the NFC? They have the North.
Yeah. No. They have the the East, the NFC East.
Okay. So it's not as bad. I was saying, God, if they had the North, that's really rough. But okay,
this is their away schedule, which is a little bit easier. They have the Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers. Obviously, they have the Eagles and the Commanders. They have the Raiders and the Panthers, and then they have the Broncos. It's a little bit easier, but if you look at their schedule, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. 10 of their 17 games next year are against playoff teams from this year. 10.
That's crazy. Yeah, the teams you just mentioned, I mean, other than their division, Raiders and Panthers were really the only two that were, not great last year, but the rest of them, man, that's a tough schedule. Good luck, Seattle.
Yeah, that is a really, really rough schedule. And yeah, I don't, but that's, at the same time, that's what we thought the Bears were going to come into this year. They were playing the NFC East, they were playing the AFC North, and then the AFC, they go out and they beat everybody but the Ravens in the AFC North. And I think they swept the NFC East. I know they swept the NFC East. So what looked like was going to be a really hard schedule for the Bears ended up, they went through it. So
they took care of business.
We just don't know what's going to go happen with that. So anyways, with the off season, we obviously get free agency in there. So we talked about this a little bit. We talked about how bad the quarterback situation was in one way. So here are your top quarterbacks
for free agency.
For free agents.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones.
Okay.
And he's hurt right now. So when is he going to be back? But if I'm Daniel Jones, I want the Colts to sign me again, right? You had your success with the Colts. Yes. I think you stay there. Your other capable starter, and this is from ESPN.com, the capable starter is Tua. So what's going to happen with Tua? If you're looking for a quarterback, you could do worse than a good Tua, but do you want to pay money to Tua, who's looked bad and is obviously, and we hate to say this, very much one hit away from his career being over? I mean, I know everybody's is in a bad way, but I'm talking about just getting one hit to the head. Obviously anybody could break something, could hurt something and they could be done. But I think Tua is the one that you feel a little bit less safe with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you say one hit away, but we're talking about his one hit is like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to other healthy quarterbacks. They need a 9 or a 10 hit to take him out. Like, he is so fragile right now, especially with a concussion and brain stuff. I just don't know. I mean, he can be a solid quarterback when he's healthy and has protection, but he's just had really, really bad luck with injuries. And man, I feel bad for the guy, and I understand why he's still out there playing. But at some point, you have to look and go, man, my health, my quality of life has to somewhere fit in here. And I think the Dolphins are going to, if he leaves, they're going to pay him quite a bit of money. So he might be okay financially. So I don't know what he's still doing out there taking that risk. But man, Tua's a risk for anybody right now.
Yeah, definitely is a risk. After that, according to ESPN, like I said, ESPN.com, here's your other top free agents: Jimmy Garoppolo,
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers, and
Wow.
Malik Willis.
Okay. I mean, Malik Willis showed some promise backing up, Jordan Love for the Packers. He wasn't awful for them. But the other two guys, Jimmy Garoppolo, might be time to hang it up. Aaron Rodgers, you're done. You're done. Please, please, you're done. It's over.
Right. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously had a couple good years with the 49ers, but he's bounced around. I mean, I'll give you points here, Tony. Do you know what team Jimmy Garoppolo was just on?
And was that? He's on my Raiders.
No, right now. Like who did he play for this past year?
Okay, I cheated. Was it the Rams?
It was the Rams.
I cheated. I cheated.
He
But
cheated.
no,
Okay.
I would not have guessed that. I thought he was still on the Raiders up until last season. Then I don't know where he went.
So, is anybody taking a chance on Jimmy Garoppolo? There's no way, right? There's no way somebody's taking a chance on Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
You would have to be really, really low on backup quarterbacks. That's the only option for them. But I don't see anybody doing that.
I can see Aaron Rodgers, somebody taking a chance on Aaron Rodgers because you could do a lot worse, especially because the quarterback situation is so bad. But do you want that guy around? And then the other one, though, Malik Willis. Malik Willis is a very capable backup. He obviously did a really good job for the Packers this past year. If I'm a Packers fan, I want Malik Willis to stay because just in case Jordan Love gets hurt, he's done a really good job in that offense. But is he one of those guys that looks good when he comes in and has looked good for a couple games, but when he actually has to be the man, can he be the man? He couldn't do it in Tennessee. Obviously, he got a fresh start with the Packers and did really, really well for him. I mean, if I'm Malik Willis, do you just stay comfortable with the Packers or do you try and go get that starting job? Because I think if he wants a starting job, he might be able to find one.
Yeah, but I think he's a guy that needs a offensive coordinator that really fits his style of play. I think Malik Willis is still maybe a runner first right now. He has good legs. And I think Green Bay, who's that, Matt LaFleur, somebody like that there, I think that works with him really well, and he's done well. So if I'm Malik Willis, you're still young. Maybe stick with them for a year or two and see what happens, because I think if you go someplace, you could really, really just bomb and be done. And it would be, tragic depending on where he goes. If he's got to go to the right team, I guess is what I'm going. The right coach, the right offense, the right team. And I think he can do okay. But man, I'd still stick it out maybe another year or two there.
Yeah, I would definitely do it. But does ego get in the way? Does ego, I want to play, sure. So I'm going to go play somewhere and find a way to play. So, and then they, these in the same tier, they have cap casualties that could get cut. Kirk Cousins at the Falcons, I think he would find a place. Somebody would take a chance on him. Justin Fields, what does Justin Fields need to find a way to be I don't know, a kick returner or something like that instead of a quarterback? And then you got Geno Smith in there too. Should the Raiders cut Geno Smith?
Oh boy. I mean, they're obviously, everything points to them taking Mendoza. Do you think Mendoza is going to get better sitting behind Geno Smith a year? I don't think so. It's not like he's sitting behind Montana or Steve Young or Brett Favre or somebody like that. Sitting behind Geno Smith's not going to help you a lot. I think Mendoza should come in and just let's throw him out there and see what he can do. It might be disastrous for him, but you're right. I mean, Geno Smith, I think his time's come as well. He can be a backup somewhere. He could be a solid backup somewhere.
Yeah. I would think so. So, yeah. And I mean, and then once you get to the next year, these are the next years. Flacco, is he going to stick around? Mariota, Gardner Minshew, and Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, it gets real thin, really, really fast, for them. So,
yes.
I don't know what you want to do with that situation, but the quarterback situation is just not one that looks good this year for anybody. No. So The running backs is where it gets a little bit interesting because the top free agent running back is Brees Hall, who
Yes.
looked like he was going to have a breakout career with the Jets, and it just never happened, mostly because he was on the Jets.
Correct.
He is definitely a guy that will get a job somewhere and could flourish in the right situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a really good running back. For being on the Jets. If you look at some of the things that he's done, it's actually pretty impressive. I mean, 1,000 yards with the Jets. I mean, that's pretty good because that offensive line isn't real awesome, and you're probably throwing the ball quite a bit with the Jets because you're losing most of the time. But somebody needs to pick him up. Somebody that needs that maybe that two back look that kind of like the Lions have, or maybe even your Bears have. Because
Right.
I don't know if he's the man, but can you imagine, like, right off the top of my head, him and Kenneth Walker from Seattle, two
Oh
back
my gosh.
combination? That could be really dangerous. So, I mean, I don't know. He's their star back, obviously, but man, I think he's kind of wasting talents there at the Jets because they're still rebuilding for the 40th year.
He's going to get he's going to get somewhere. Somebody's gonna take him. And I think, like you said, even if, he could possibly get, he could be the star somewhere, but I think if he wants to, like you just said, mix it up with somebody, as a two back, like I didn't even think about the Seahawks, but if the Seahawks really wanted to, yeah, you put him, I know they had Charbonnet there, but you put him with, like you said, Kenneth Walker, and that could be a really dangerous team. The other one that I think definitely needs to look for a running back is the Kansas City Chiefs. If he wanted to go over there, I'm sure the Chiefs would take him. Actually, though, as I scroll down one more, there are free agents. Kenneth Walker III is a free agent, and so is Travis Etienne. So if I'm the Seahawks, my first focus is Kenneth Walker, because what he did for you in the Super Bowl is great. And then could you mix him with somebody? Travis Etienne is interesting because he had some good times with the Jaguars, but has he been great?
The Jaguars have been decent, though, but he hasn't been like, it's Trevor Lawrence's team. It really is. And I think Etienne has been okay, but he just hasn't been that guy. So I think depending on the situation, he could stick it out there, and I don't think they're not gonna get worse because he's there. But is he getting better? I mean, is there a better option out there? Yeah, Kenneth Walker is going to stay with Seattle. No way you get rid of the Super Bowl MVP. No chance on that. I think he kind of carried Sam Darnold through the playoffs because I still not convinced Sam Darnold could get it done, even though he did. But yeah. But ETN can be fine for the Jags, but they're having that trouble getting over that hump? Do they need a big explosive back that can just the home run kind of back?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then you start to get kind of really, it gets thin after that. But those are your top three guys there. I don't think any one of those guys will have trouble finding a spot, and I do think. I think NFL teams are starting to really figure out that it's probably in our best interest to have two capable guys. So don't be surprised if one of those guys signs with a team that already has an established running back, and they make good 1-2 punch because it's been successful.
Well, you mentioned. I mean, you mentioned Brees Hall maybe with the Chiefs. ETN, I don't think would be a bad option with the Chiefs either. I think, because he can kind of catch the ball in the backfield and stuff like that with Patrick Mahomes. I think both of those guys with the Chiefs would help the Chiefs a lot. I don't want to see that happen, but I think those guys can flourish a little bit more with a team like the Chiefs and Andy Reid play calling than maybe where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be interesting, obviously, to see where some of those guys go. I think the big names are going to be that what happens in that quarterback situation, just because it's been so tough, or such a thin market this year for that stuff, and I don't know where teams want to go exactly. So it'll be interesting to see what some of those teams do as we get into this free agency. I'm not sure when the free agency starts. I know the oh my gosh, what they
draft,
the combine. Sorry, the combine starts up soon. It's in Indianapolis again, so it'll be interesting to see how some of those people perform and which guys don't actually, go out and do anything.
Did you
But
hear that Mendoza might not do a lot of throwing? Something along those lines. I did read
I think
that.
Mendoza doesn't need to. Mendoza is the number one pick if he wants to be. Like, he doesn't need to go out. But I think like a Diego Pavia needs to do stuff, and some of those guys, because the draft. Because here's the thing: you have Mendoza. It's obviously your number one quarterback, right? Coming out of Indiana. It just depends on if the Raiders are going to take him or if they trade down. But he is the top quarterback, and quarterbacks have been taken earlier than they should. So of all the times for a guy that's a borderline guy to maybe make a jump, it's this year as a quarterback. So I think unless you're trying to hide something, you need to get out and do something. And and if you don't do something, do people then look at it and be like, you know what, they're trying to hide something? Mendoza doesn't need to do that. They understand that. Like the people that are watching, they watched his national championship run. They did all that stuff. They don't need to see anything from him. So I don't think if he doesn't do anything, people are going to be like, you know what, he's dodging things.
Yeah, he made enough throws. He made enough plays. He didn't turn the ball over. He was gutsy. He took a beating. That run against Miami for the touchdown was like that moment, for him, I think kind of cemented him up there. But you're right. Diego Pavia, as good as he was in college, he needs to go out in the combine and have a really good combine. I think his running speed is fine, but his passing, right? How does he do on those drills? That's going to be, and his footwork, things like that, because he's kind of a shifty guy back there. So there's a difference between NFL and college quarterbacks when it comes to, you can kind of just be athletic in college and get away with it and make plays, and your footwork doesn't have to be perfect, and your technique doesn't have to be perfect, and your throwing motion doesn't have to be perfect. But if you're athletic enough, you can survive and even be successful. But in the NFL, everybody's athletic, everybody's really good. So all the fundamentals have to be really good. And I think that guys like Pavia, like you said, those are the guys that need to prove that at the combine.
Right. So it'll be interesting, like we said, to see who does what with that. But they got a lot of people telling them what to do. But obviously there's a little bit of ego too. I know Pavia has measured a little bit short compared to some quarterbacks. So that's going to be interesting too. I know Russell Wilson was obviously short. Tua was short, but Tua kept coming out and saying, I can't see over my line. Well, that seems to be a problem. So
that is a problem.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with all that. And obviously we have a watch on the Raiders on what they're going to do with the number one pick. And I know you hate to say this, and I kind of like what I saw, but I saw a little video and I didn't get the chance to read or listen to it, but it said, should the Bears go all in for Max Crosby? And I was like, wait a minute. Are they serious? Is there some smoke to this fire? I do know Crosby was doing a little podcast and he had one of his guests on was Caleb Williams. So,
okay. Interesting.
Is there some smoke to this fire? Is it just me being wishful and thinking it? And if you were the Bears, now take out the fact that you're a Raiders fan for a second. If you were the Bears, and I don't know how much all in means, but would you go all in to get Max Crosby?
I think as the Bears has shown last season, they've improved enough offensively. What are you giving up, I guess, would be my biggest question. To answer your question, yes, I think if you go in on Max Crosby, you create a problem for every single team out there with Max Crosby on your defensive line. He's somebody you can't ignore. He disrupts, he gets sacks, he makes plays, he's a motor. Like, he is just constantly go, go, go. I think he's a really good leader out there. But what do you give up for him? You're going to have to give up that probably your first round pick for sure. But other than that, what else are you giving up, I guess? Because I know the Bears probably need a little bit more help on defense, but so do the Raiders. But the Raiders need a lot of help everywhere. I think the Bears are maybe a playmaker away from really making a Super Bowl run. So is it me going on Max Crosby? I think yes, depending on what I have to give up.
Yeah. Like I said, they have Montez Sweat on one side. And if you could get Max Crosby on the other side, I mean, it
That's rough.
I'm dreaming, but that like Max, you think about this, how bad the Raiders defense was and how much Max Crosby was still able to do with that. So now, do I give up 3 number ones for him? No. But if they come and say you're number one this year and you're number something, whatever, I think you do it. I think if you're the Bears, you do it, because let's be honest, you think these windows are going to be big for you, but they're not. Windows aren't very big in the NFL, and the Bears look like they're in a little bit of a window right now. So I think you have to go for it. You have to go for it right now, because you're gonna if you trade for Crosby, you're gonna flip and sign him. You have to. Like, you're not gonna get him for just 1 year. So you're gonna sign him for a contract. So it gives you a window of a couple of years with him, and you can keep some of this stuff together. You know, you have that window for a couple of years. Yeah, I do it. I go for it. Now, again, how big is the price? But if the price is a decent all-in, you 100% do it. I think if you're the Bears, I don't think twice about it. I think you do it. You sign him. He seems like a dude that's, like you said, motor's always running. Seems like a good teammate. Yeah, I would 100% go do it. Please, Bears, go do it.
Yeah, I think you make a great point talking about the window of opportunity. And your window right now, the Bears, has opened, and now's the time to jump on it. And you pick up a guy like Max Crosby, you have not only taken a team that made a little bit of a playoff run, won the NFC North. Like, that team now just became better. And they're going to be better because they're another year better. And now you got a guy like Max Crosby, who, let's be honest, if you wait 2 or 3 years to try to get Max Crosby, he's not going to be the same Max Crosby as he was.
Right.
Do I want him on the Raiders? I want him on the Raiders 100%. I like him, but I also want him to go somewhere and be successful. And I don't see the Raiders doing that this season. I have hopes within the next couple of years they can, but the Bears are ready right now to make a move. Go get your Max Crosby right now, because if you wait 2 or 3 years, that window shuts.
Yeah, exactly. All right, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know there's going to be a lot of guys that get released, get traded this offseason, I think, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So all that's coming up. But, while we do that, let's flip over to the NCAA. And what better time to talk college football than and to look at some non-conference games for next year. Okay, we had some really good games this year, and we're fortunate enough that we get the flipped end of them this year. So last year, Michigan went to Oklahoma. This year, Oklahoma's coming to Michigan. Last year, Notre Dame went to Miami. Miami's coming to Notre Dame. Ohio State and Texas. Texas came to Ohio State. Ohio State's going to Texas. Those 3 games right there, awesome 3 games right there.
You got so excited you hit your mic. Is that what I sounded like there? Yeah, those are fantastic matchups to start the year early on, non-conference games. But will you see these non-conference games start going away based on what happened with, kind of the whole playoff with Notre Dame and things like that, and Bama getting in? Like, do you think teams aren't going to schedule those games anymore? Have we seen the last of those really good non-conference games because of the way the playoffs are working, or do you think if they expand the playoff, we can still see these good non-conference games?
That's what I was about to say. If the playoff stays at 12, which I don't think it's going to expand some way, one or another, whether it gets to 24 or not, that we talked about last week, or if it gets to 16, I think it's going to expand. If it were to stay at 12, because of the way things happen this year, yeah, they go away. Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but why would you? Because we talked about this. Michigan was not a playoff team. I get it. Michigan was not a playoff team last year. But had they not played Oklahoma in the regular season, you would have been at the last week, and they would have been in the playoff hunt. Up until the Ohio State game, they would have been in the playoff hunt because they would have only had 1 loss coming in the Ohio State game, and that was against USC. And if they're undefeated going the USC game, maybe things change. I'm not saying they would, obviously, but maybe things change. But they're in the playoff hunt right there, right? Texas, now take care of business against Florida, and it doesn't matter. But they lose to Ohio State, you really burned them. And the Miami game, they beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame was left out because of it. Now, it almost got flipped, but Notre Dame got left out because they lost to Miami. If Notre Dame
100%.
doesn't play Miami, Notre Dame's in the playoffs.
Notre Dame's in, and either Miami or Bama's out. That's it.
Correct. Right.
Yep.
So with a 12-team playoff, yes, it would go away, and we've seen some of those. with the expanded, especially if it goes to 24, I think they stay, and it almost gets encouraged to play those games because now I don't think you'll get, if you come down to it at the end of it, if you have a Michigan team that has 4 losses and you have a Louisville team that has 3 losses, but Michigan's loss is to one of their losses to Oklahoma, and they don't have a bad loss, and Louisville hasn't really beaten anybody, because they play in the ACC, you take Michigan, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, you don't look at that loss as a like quote unquote bad loss. You played a good game, and you're going to take that team that played a tough team.
Yeah, you need to make sure that they don't get quote unquote penalized for it. Now, if they lose to them and then they have 5 losses because they lost 4 conference games, then you could be like, okay,
yeah.
listen, that might be a little bit different. But if you take care of business and you're borderline, then don't, especially if it's a close game. Like the Texas Ohio State game was 14-7. That was a close game, right? So Texas, shouldn't have been penalized for it. But the thing is, I don't think Texas was penalized for it this year. I think Texas was penalized because they lost to a bad Florida team, and that's their problem. And obviously they looked really, really good at the end of the year, but that you can't just go, well, they're playing the best right now. Well, what happens if they go 0-6 to start the year and then they go 6-0 the second half of the year and they're looking like the best team in the playoff? I mean, in the league, you're going to let them in because they're 6-6. You still have to take care of business.
Right, exactly. I mean, and I can almost flip it a little bit. And Miami did this because they beat Notre Dame early in the season, and that win basically got them into the playoffs because they lost to SMU and then they lost to somebody else. I can't think of it on the top of my head, but they had their 2 losses that weren't awesome losses. Louisville, maybe it was, but their win against Notre Dame put them in. If they had played some, random school outside the Big Four conferences, we might not be talking about Miami playing for a national title. So it can go the other way when you win, but it definitely kind of sometimes hurts you when you lose. So it's tough to call. Take care of business on the games you should win, and then those games, they're not going to hurt you as much.
Right. So obviously, you and I, being a Michigan Oklahoma fan, are the non-conference game we're looking most forward to is the Michigan Oklahoma game, and we'll keep our fingers crossed so we can find a way to get up to that game. But which game interests you more outside of that one? Is it the Ohio State Texas? Is it Notre Dame Miami? Or is it even something like Clemson? Because Clemson plays LSU, and that's going to be in Baton Rouge, so that's going to be at LSU. It's not a neutral site game, so you have that game there. Which one of those 3? Because after that, I mean, they're good games after that. Some of the games after that they have ranked right now are Ole Miss, Louisville, interesting but not awesome. Notre Dame, BYU, SMU, Notre Dame. Apparently, this fan loves Notre Dame. Now, Alabama does get their revenge, hopefully for Bama fans, not for me. I don't like Bama, against Florida State. And then you have Tennessee, Georgia Tech. And there was one other in there that they had. It was Arizona State, Texas A&M. So those games, cool games, and maybe they get a little bit more. But I definitely think the top 5 are them. So outside of Oklahoma, Michigan, which game are you most excited to see in the non-conference?
Boy, the Lane Kiffin LSU game is intriguing because Lane Kiffin playing a big game against Clemson. I know Clemson wasn't exactly great last year, but it's still Clemson, still Dabo. He's still got a good program there. That one interests me. I don't like Texas, and I'm not a huge Ohio, and I know you hate Ohio State. It's basically our rivals are playing each other, and our teams are playing each other. So I think for me, I'm gonna focus the Miami Notre Dame games. Also, I mean, these are all great games. I'm gonna probably watch the Texas Ohio State game just because I do follow your Wolverines. I want to see how good Ohio State is. Obviously, I want to see where Texas is at. Arch Manning's back. That Texas team's going to be loaded again. Let's see what can happen with the Texas and Ohio State teams that seem to be favored the last few years, and they haven't really, I mean, obviously Ohio State delivered, but Texas really hasn't delivered in the Steve Sarkisian era, even though they have the guys out there. So I'm probably leaning toward the Texas-Ohio State game just because I want to see my Oklahoma's rival, see your Michigan rival. But man, Lane Kiffin, LSU, and then, of course, Miami, rebuilding a little bit. They still look really good, but they lost a lot of key pieces, and Notre Dame seems to be loaded coming back. But Texas, Ohio State probably for me. And I'm guessing I'm going to take a guess that you like that one too.
Yeah, I mean, I do because I think Texas has a great shot to beat Ohio State this year. But and I'll get to something in a second about Texas. But we just talked about in the NFL, will the Seahawks play the Patriots in the first week? And I don't know what week Notre Dame plays Miami. I don't know if it's the first game or not. But you want to talk about a team that wants revenge more than anything?
Oh my
That's got to
gosh.
be the Notre Dame Miami, right? Because that loss kept Notre Dame out of the playoffs, and then they didn't even play in a bowl game because they took their
Right.
their ball and they went home. Like the Patriots want their revenge on the Seahawks, and
Yep.
obviously for the Super Bowl, and that's a big thing. But the Patriots have won a Super Bowl, recently. They have a bunch. So obviously those guys weren't part of it, so they want the revenge. But listen. The Patriots were in the playoffs with a chance to win the Super Bowl. Notre Dame didn't even get into the playoffs because they lost to Miami. That is going to be a prove 'em game. Notre Dame is going to want to prove. Listen, last year we were breaking into the quarterback in CJ Carr. They are losing Jeremiah Love. He's going to the NFL, but they got a lot to prove. Notre Dame is wanting to show Miami, and they're going to come out like their whole offseason is looking forward to that Miami game. But on the flip side, Texas, Ohio State. Texas has an Arch Manning who didn't look good for the first part of the year and then really turned it on at the end of the year and looked like the guy we thought we were going to get at the beginning of the season.
Right.
So I guess my question to you now to flip it, not that Texas has to beat Ohio State necessarily, but if Texas doesn't finally get over that hump this year to get at least to the national championship game, should Sarkisian be on the hot seat?
If they don't even make the playoffs this upcoming season, I think he's on the very, very hot seat. I think Texas they've had chances. They've had teams. They have guys. Quinn Ewers. Now you got Arch Manning. You got guys all over the place. It's time, Steve. They have to minimum make the playoffs and probably win a game or two and maybe even play for a national title. Otherwise, he's going to be in serious, serious trouble. If they come out and beat Ohio State, that's going to be a really good start. But let's say they go through and they lose to Oklahoma and then they don't make the playoff, man, he's going to be in danger. He's going to feel the heat for sure.
I'm going to say right now, if Texas does not make the playoff, they fire him.
He's gone. All right.
Yeah. And I think if he doesn't make the national championship game, the fans are going to want him gone because you've gone through, like you just said, two quarterbacks that should have got you there. And Quinn Ewers and then this supposed generational talent in Arch Manning. And he's looked good at times, but he hasn't developed the way we thought he was going to. So is that a little bit on Sark? Is it
right.
Quarterback coach or whatever? He needs to do something this year. That is for sure. He keeps bringing in all these recruits. They have these top recruiting classes. He needs to do it now. If he doesn't do it now, I think he's out.
Yeah, like you said, Arch Manning maybe hasn't developed like everyone thought he would. He's still a good quarterback. I think he would start on almost every single major program. He'd be their guy, but he hasn't come along like we thought that he would. And Texas has had defenses and they've had running backs and they've had some wide receivers. So Arch Manning needs to take that next step, but is Steve Sarkisian the problem? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Steve still calls plays, maybe not anymore, but I know he used to. So maybe he's got to figure something out with offensive coordinator, who's calling the plays out there. And I'm fine with Texas not doing well. I'm fine with that. But as long as Oklahoma beats them. But you're right. I mean, if he doesn't make the playoffs at all, I would not be surprised if they fire him. It'd be hard to because the Texas have been so good the last few years, and he's done a good job recruiting and transfer portal and stuff. But man, Texas fans are going to be tired of it not making the playoffs this year if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, they keep telling us Texas is back, and they haven't quite got there. So whether you thought they should have been in the playoffs or not, they didn't make it last year, and they need to this year. So it's going to be very interesting. Listen, talking about these games, like it gets me pumped up. I want there to be games, like next week. Can we have games next week that really matter?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like last season, I think did a really good job of having meaningful games. Yeah. Almost every week. I think there was one week there that was kind of down and out, but we had some. Obviously, Clemson was a little disappointing. Penn State ended up being disappointing, so that kind of lowered the expectations on some of those games that look like big matchups later in the year. But yeah, every week we would like to have really important games that really matter. And I want to see a little bit better rankings, maybe preseason ranking. I'm real curious to see preseason rankings because I don't think you can put Indiana at number one because of the amount of guys that they're losing. But how do you not put the national champion at number one? Like things like that are really interesting to me that are going to be coming out in the next few months that we can really get into.
Oh, I can't wait for those rankings to come out too, because those are always really, really fun to argue. And there's going to just be some wild things that go on in there. But listen, we're still months away from that, unfortunately. So, but we'll keep finding things to talk about. We love talking football. We love talking about all this stuff. So it may be the off season, but we're going to be here every week. So keep listening, keep tuning in. We'll come back next week with something more to argue, something more to talk about. But it's been fun, and we'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Adam.
I'm Tony. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to the Two Bald Guys Sports Podcast with Adam and Tony. Don't forget to check out our partnership with Happy Nuts.